This is the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show, Week 4. I'm Stephen Orr, joined by Mark Finkner. Mark, another great week of football, and we're 4 weeks into this deal.
It's hard to believe we're already in week 4, no doubt. I mean, this ought to be a great week. And, Stephen, as we start looking at this, to me, one of the things that kind of popped out is, some matchups that we haven't seen in the past, but some in rematches or repeats from last year to this year could be interesting because they could be wider, could be narrower. I think talent gaps have kind of either really contracted or really expanded.
On some of these teams, we're going to find out how much change there's been, whether it's been improvement or taking a step back. And that's going to be interesting to break down. Plus, we have some outstanding state rank versus state rank games as well. We're going to dig into that and a whole lot more when we come back on the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back, Stephen Orr and Mark Finkner. Mark, time to take a look at our top matchups on the entire board, and we're going to start with Abilene Wiley making the trip to the new stadium in Stephenville to take on a Hornets team that really took care of them last year. But I think Wiley may be a little bit more of a challenge this year.
I think so, no doubt. I mean, the fact that Wiley's 2-1, fourth-ranked Stephenville, of course, comes in undefeated at 3-0. But, yeah, I mean, it was pretty one-sided last year. Stephenville took Wiley not exactly to the shed, but close to it at 49-27. But I do think I would lean a little bit more towards Wiley if this game was at Hugh Sandifer Stadium, but it is not. It is at the new stadium in Stephenville. I like the Yellow Jackets, but I do think Wiley is going to give Stephenville a good game, a solid game. But man, the way Stephenville, just looking at the results so far, they just seem to be very workmanlike, kind of machine-like, especially offensively, and they're not giving up many points. And obviously, when you're 3-0, I know that's kind of a random generalization, but this Stephenville team feels like a team that, again, could be a state contender. I mean, obviously, Wiley, a bigger school, but I don't know if that necessarily matters. Give me Stephenville in this one, probably by a touchdown or so.
Llano hits the road to take on Gerald, and Llano has been very strong so far this year.
Well, and the Yellow Jackets up to number 2 in the state in the Dave Campbell's AP poll this week. But, man, Gerald also at 3-0. The 3-0s have been built a little different. The only reason, well, it's 2 reasons this game gets put in my top 7 this week. Yes, they're both undefeated. But the way the 3-0s have been built are a little bit different. Llano seems to be better, but Gerald at home maybe kind of balances it out. That's why I think this could be a good game, and the fact that it was only a touchdown win last year for Llano at 21-14. So to me, and again, this is like we were talking about in the opening segment a little bit, how much has Gerald improved? Have they raised their level of play to meet Llano, a team that has fast, in my mind, fast becoming a state type contender in 3A Division I. I mean, all the way up to number 2 this week. And yeah, I mean, polls are just a number, but I do think that the Yellow Jackets have got something good going. I think they go on the road and win this one, but I'm even though Gerald's out of our coverage area, I am interested to see how the Jackets respond going on the road against another undefeated.
Friendship Memorial in their first season playing that Wildcat schedule. They're going to take on the Littlefield Wildcats in Littlefield, and Littlefield playing really strong right now.
Well, they are. I mean, both teams at 3-0, they've obviously played different types of schedules, as you mentioned, but I do think this is one that you look at it, and Memorial taking that step up now to playing for the first time another varsity opponent. I mean, they're actually taking on a varsity opponent because they played 3 JVs, Coopers, West Plains, amongst them, and Monterey's JV. Those are the 3 wins that they have so far. Now they take on a varsity team. So they're not taking on 15 and 16-year-olds. These 15 and 16-year-olds are now competing against 17 and 18-year-olds, although Littlefield's had to deal with injury some, as we talked about last week. But I'm really intrigued at this matchup. I think it's kind of a measuring stick for both teams, so to speak, as far as, Friendship, obviously a bigger pool to pull from, or a pool to pull from, and Littlefield, a team they've scored a lot of points here the first 3 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And Stephen, I want to go back up on the board here just a minute. And another one of those true measuring stick games, Seminole and Cooper Liberty. The Indians 2-1, two really good wins since their loss in week 1 to West Plains. Cooper Liberty has been on the revenge tour so far this year. And I kind of want your thoughts on how you think that matchup goes.
I think this is the toughest game Cooper Liberty's played so far. And Seminole, having played West Plains, even though that was not a pleasant experience for them, they are now battle tested. And I think they give Liberty everything they want. But the Patriots not looking at the same top blowout that they saw last year for sure.
No. And I mean, it was 62-15 last year. I think this will be a very entertaining game. This is one that, man, to me, this has the feelings of 38-35 all over it. It's going to come down to kicking game and who has the ball last. I'll be surprised if this is a blowout one way or the other.
And what an opportunity for Liberty to get one of those program boosting, program changing type wins against a very quality team.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this would be one of those you put on the post, like, hey, this is big time, no question. If they can get by Seminole, because I mean, to me, this is a real test. I think we're going to see a lot of points. This, to me, may be as entertaining a game as we have on the board out of all 165 games.
One game I'm really looking at, Slayton taking on Post. Now, Post won this game last year 27-20, and we know how much they surprised everybody versus preseason prognostications and where they ended up. Slayton, a team that kind of did the same, and they are moving in that same direction this year. This is two teams that are going to butt heads, and I think probably is in that 3 to 7 point range game, and I really don't know who can win it.
Well, I still lean towards Post in this one. A, because they're at home. B, they kind of have the somewhat psychological advantage. I mean, they've dominated this series in recent years. So until Slayton can get over that hurdle, I mean, these two played last year. They were both 3-0, just like they are this year. Post winning a close game at Slayton. Give me the bowl gold. I mean, it's one of those we talk about all the time. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, Post is the man, and Slayton's got to find a way to get over him. Again, I think I see it similar to last year's game. I think we're going to see it somewhere in the 21-14 type range. But to me, I still think you lean Post primarily because they're at home. I mean, I think Slayton has definitely improved, as you mentioned, a lot. But this will be a test for them, and we'll see if they pass it or not.
Albany hosts Kahoma, and I'm curious, what made this game jump on your board?
Well, I mean, the fact that they're both 3-0, Oklahoma, a little bit surprising, not super surprising. And, of course, Albany with what they've done after their 0-2 start last year, and we know what Coach Denny Faith is all about. And the fact that through scheduling issues that we really don't have time to get into right now, that these two actually meeting for the first time, and for the first time ever, that these two going at each other. I mean, definitely there's a little bit of a road trip, but Albany getting the home game, I'm leaning towards the Lions.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the best matchups in your area. I'm Stephen Orr on the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back, Mark. It's time for us to go and take a look up in the Panhandle, and some great battles there. I want to start with Amarillo Paladura taking on Amarillo High. Can the Dons get a 2-0 win streak against Amarillo High this year?
No, not when you look at this game on paper, you look at who they played. I mean, Paladuro's got the 2 wins since being shut out by Tascosa. Good for them and Coach Sims. Good deal. But Amarillo High is, I mean, they're up to 10th in the state in 5A Division I this week in one ranking, and deservedly so. They've beaten 3 6A teams in their first 3 weeks. I mean, Odessa, San Angelo Central, a back-and-forth game last week with Midland. On paper, I say no. Now, obviously, that's why you play them. These two have had some great battles through the years, both as district rivals and just city, compatriots. But I do think you look at this, and if Amarillo's healthy, Jet Lopez and that offense, give me the Sandstorm in this one.
Last year, Bushland defeated West Plains by a score of 28-15. Fast forward year, how do you see this one playing out? This ought to be a dandy of a ball game, but I think West Plains a little too much.
Well, I mean, here's the funny thing. This is year 4 for West Plains, and they've won at least one playoff game in each of their first 3 years. They've played Bushland every year, but what is West Plains' record against Bushland? Think about that a second. 0-3. They've never beaten Bushland. But I think you're right. I mean, Bushland coming off the overtime loss at Midland Christian last week. Coach Reynolds and company, they've got some, little soul searching to do after that one. I mean, Bushland's still a very fine team, no question about it. But man, West Plains just at a different level right now. They're state championship contenders. After what they did to Estacado last week. I mean, they gave up some huge plays to the Matadors, 75-yard run, 70-yard run, 90-yard run, 60-yard pass, all for scores. And guess what? They still beat Estacado by 4 touchdowns with all of these explosives for Estacado. I mean, West Plains is just a different animal, and as long as they're healthy, the Wolves take care of business.
The Skyrockets of Wellington take on Lubbock Christian, looking for their first win against LC.
Yeah, I mean, these two kind of like Bushland and West Plains. I mean, Lubbock Christian has had their number, but every one of them have been close. Last year, 36-34, 17-16 2 years ago, 28-24 and 22. And every time in the studio when these two teams play, Stephen, we look up at the end of the night, we're like, whoa. But I'm telling you, LC is a legit state championship type team in TAPS Division III this year. They've got enough outstanding players. Their line play is good enough. Man, LC at home. I mean, Wellington, very fine team, both 3-0. I mean, this ought to be I think this is going to be a low scoring game, because I think if this game gets higher scoring, I think it's definitely to the benefit of Lubbock Christian. I think if Wellington's going to win this game, it needs to be kind of like that game 2 years ago, 17-16. Needs to be lower scoring Wellington, higher scoring Lubbock Christian.
Last year, the Dumas Demons make the trip to Plainview, come up 7 points short, lose 35-28. This year, the Bulldogs headed to Dumas. Could home field advantage flip that score?
I think so. I think Dumas, Plainview having to make the road trip. I like what Coach Dunham is doing. I like the Demons here. I do think very similar to what you're saying, Stephen. I see it very much like you. I think this will be about a touchdown game or so. But Seth Mayberry is a difference maker for Plainview. So do not count out the Bulldogs. This is another one of those games. The higher the score, the better Plainview's chances are in this one. If Dumas can keep it around 21 to 24 points, I like them.
Hereford takes on Perryton. Hereford has had 2 weeks of heartbreaking close losses. Can they rebound against Perryton?
I think so. And, maybe this is good, Stephen, because they've both been at home. Get away, get on the road, not necessarily the whole us against the world mentality. I'm not going there. I just think sometimes as a team, you need those times of bonding, and road trips do that. You know that, I know that, being on teams, sometimes you just need that. And I think that's what this Hereford team needs. And I think they take full advantage of it. And I do think they get back in the win column. I think Adam Nairn's team gets it back to 500 this week.
Canadian takes on Muleshoe. They make the trip, and man, we've seen some shootouts. And when we went into this season, I would have thought maybe this would be one of those in that top 7 group this week, but Muleshoe may be showing a few cracks.
Yeah, well, and I mean, with what Canadian is doing, I mean, I think Canadian in some ways is showing better than what we might have thought. I mean, that's hard to say when a team like Canadian gets to the regional finals and you think I didn't think this by any means, but some would think that was a semi-down year because you only make the final 8 in the state. I mean, that's crazy talk. But you remember these two teams played twice last year. The regular season game was the one that was just mind-blowing last year, literally almost a 5-hour broadcast for our guys on the Canadian Sports Network last year. I mean, the game itself was over 4 hours in length, the 74-67 win by Canadian last year at home. But now it's their turn to make the long trip to Benny Douglas in Muleshoe. I do think, though, Canadian takes care of business, and I think Coach Cavalier will have them ready. I don't know that this is a blowout, but I do think if Canadian plays well, they win comfortably.
Boys Ranch could improve to 4-0 with a win over Sanjak. And when you look historically at Boys Ranch, this would be one of their best starts in a very long time.
Oh, man, 2011, the last time they started 4-0 for the Rough Riders. I mean, they only ended up 5-5 that year. So if they win Friday, they take that step. The last time they had a winning season, Stephen, 2008. So best of luck to Boys Ranch out there. But Amarillo Sanjak has kind of surprised some people earlier. You know, sometimes the private schools, you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. But I do think that this is one that I think that Lewis Kelly's team, they go on the road, and if they just handle their business, I think the Rough Riders come out of this one 4-0. I do like Boys Ranch in this matchup.
All right, and real quickly, we'll just mention it. Pampa and Borger. It's a rivalry game for somebody to get their first win of the season. It will be a hard-fought game, and it'll be a fun one to be at.
Give me the Harvesters.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at some more of the top matchups in the region on the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back. And Mark, it's time for us to go down to the South Plains, the Lubbock area, some of the top games on the board. Really interesting game right at the top. Lubbock Cooper taking on Friendship. They drive across town. Last year, this was a basketball score, although a defensive one. And Friendship comes out on top 51-42. Friendship looking to find a win.
Yeah, I mean, they got one last week against Legacy. Now it's can they get to 500 against Cooper? And I mean, this game the last 6 years has been as good as anyone maybe in the state of Texas. I mean, you think about it. I mean, go back to the 2019 game, Friendship winning in 4 overtimes, 61-53. Cooper in 2020 in the COVID year winning at Jones Stadium 20-14. Friendship has won the last 4, but it's been 14-13, 36-33, 35-34, 51-42, and it's only because of a late safety. That's the first and the only game in this last 6 years that was more than one possession at the end, but it was basically one possession. So, I mean, this game has been as good as anyone in the state of Texas. I mean, challenge me to find somebody 6 years in a row to play games this close every single year. I mean, this game, it will definitely deliver. People's Bank Stadium will be full, both sides. I mean, there's going to be people standing around everywhere. I could see 10,000 at this game easy. But I think when you start talking about, I mean, Friendship is getting better every week. Cooper, continuing to get better. What a great win for them last week, beating Tascosa 20-14 at home. I mean, Cooper's very close to being a 3-0 football team. So I think this got all the makings of a great, great matchup. To me, Stephen, I feel like this may be Cooper's time. Because to me, even though Friendship has gotten better each week, Cooper, to me, has been the more consistent, high-level team up to this point. So even though Friendship seems to have the advantage, something tells me that, Cooper losing 4 straight years, close. I think they break through. Give me the Pirates in this one.
Last year, Shallow Water went down to Midland Greenwood, lost by 11-35 to 24. This year, Greenwood, the Rangers making the trip to Shalley. Can Shallowater return the favor?
No, I just think Greenwood is playing at a different level. I mean, Coach Vincent at Shallowater, those guys are going to play hard. They're going to put some points up, but I just think, I mean, we hear from our man Trey Francis every week about Greenwood and coach and quarterback Lincoln Madrid and what Greenwood has done offensively. But let's not forget what the Rangers defense has done. I mean, they're holding teams to single digits. And to me, until somebody finds an answer to score enough on Greenwood doesn't have to score a lot to win because their defense is so good. So until somebody figures that out and can score on the Ranger defense, it's Midland Greenwood to me in this one.
Lubbock Christian takes on a Wellington team that would sure like to get their first win against Lubbock Christian. I'm not sure they can pull that off.
Well, Chris Softly has got one of the best private school teams, not just in this part of the world, but in the state. I mean, I'm so impressed with what he does year in and year out. Earlier this year, became the all-time winningest coach at Lubbock Christian with 92 career wins and counting. LC 3-0 all-time against the Skyrockets. But again, they've all been close. Last year it was 2, year before 1. 3 years ago, 4. I mean, these teams have played close games. I think it's another one that will be that way, but I like Lubbock Christian in this one. I mean, again, the long road trip will play a factor, but I like LC in this spot and give me the Eagles by like a touchdown.
The Lubbock High Westerners travel down to take on a San Angelo Lakeview team that's trying to improve to 4-0. But after the performance we saw out of the Westerners last week, I think they might have a chance to stop that win streak at Lakeview.
Well, they do. Now, if Lakeview goes to 4-0, and I think we talked about this last week, it'll be the first time in 42 years that the Chieftains start a year 4-0. In 1983, they went 9-2. Their only losses were to Monahans, and then in the bi-district round to Estacado in 83, and Estacado went all the way to the state championship game. So that tells you how good the Chieftains were that year. But to do something historic like that, man, what a boost this would be for the Chieftain program. But Lubbock High coming off that big win against Snyder. Now, San Angelo Lakeview, a better opponent. Now, on paper, I think this is going to be a very close game. Man, I want to say Lubbock High, but something tells me that San Angelo Lakeview with their offense, and Jeremy Bryant will recap that for us later tonight on the scoreboard. But I don't know. I think Lakeview close, real close.
Lubbock Estacado travels down to Sweetwater to take on the Mustangs, and Estacado coming off again that tough loss last week to West Plains, but the explosive plays that Estacado's put out in all of their games, and Sweetwater struggling to find any answers on offense. I think this one really leans towards the Matadors.
Well, you say that, and I tend to agree with you, Stephen, but one of the things out of that game last week against West Plains, the starting quarterback for Estacado got hurt, so Coach Eric Ward goes to his backup. It just happens to be his freshman son, Jarek, so who had some good moments against a top-notch team in West Plains. But if he indeed is the guy this week, to see how his progression goes from guy coming off the bench to the one calling it all as a freshman. Now, obviously, coach's son, he's going to be more cerebral. He's gonna know what Pops wants better than most. But I do think this is a good game for him to start out with if this is indeed his first career start, because I'm with you. Sweetwater just beat up right now. Give me the Matadors.
The Farwell Steelers travel to Abernathy. Farwell off a tough loss to Texaco, New Mexico last week. Abernathy at home, I think that leans their way a little bit.
Well, and of course, they played Littlefield tight last week. Plus, I'm with you. I lean Abernathy in this one.
All right. And finally, let's talk about Happy and Whit Harrell. Happy yet to score a point this year. Do they find that against Whit Harrell?
Man, I don't know. I don't think they find the win column against Whit Harrell because the Panthers are good again. Surely they won't get shut out 4 weeks in a row. Possible, but I don't. I sure hope not for their sake. I want them to get at least put some points on the board.
All right. When we come back, we're going to take it look at more top matchups around the whole scoreboard footprint. I'm Stephen Orr. It's the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. All right, Mark, let's head down to Wichita Falls area, Texoma. A good slate of games there. Going to start a little different. Temple, Oklahoma, taking on Chillicothe. And you would say that's a six-man school, but Oklahoma plays 8-man football.
Yes. So I emailed with head coach Zach Ryan of the Eagles, and I asked, okay, so is this going to be one half 6-man and one half 8-man? We had a game like that a couple years ago that way. We had another one a few years back that way as well. So I thought, okay, it'll be one half 6-man, one half 8-man. And he said, no, actually the way this game is going to work is when Temple has the ball, they're playing their 8-man offense. So Chillicothe will have 8 on defense. And then when Chillicothe has the ball, it will be 6-man offense versus 6-man defense. So then that gets me to thinking, okay, which way, then you start almost psychoanalyzing this too much, being the football nerd I am, and think, okay, who has the advantage here?
The offense.
Yeah, the offense definitely has advantage, so to speak, but you wonder, okay, is it better when you only have to defend 6, but then it's like, okay, one missed tackle and you're probably gone, whereas an 8-man, you got a little bit more help on the back end? Or is it 8-man because you have more players to try to attack or try to defend? So this ought to be an interesting game because Chillicothe 3-0, Temple, Oklahoma at 0-3. Chillicothe hadn't been 0-4 since last year, right? But before that, it had been quite some time before Chillicothe had been 4-0 previously. I mean, you start looking at that. The last time they had a winning season was 2014 when they went 7-5, got to the second round of the playoffs. So this is a big, big game for the Eagles and playing kind of a different style of game. But I just think Chillicothe, they haven't played a great schedule here, Stephen, but I do think having some confidence with some wins and playing at home, even though it's a different style of game, I think this will be a very entertaining, fun game. I mean, I'd love to just kind of sit and watch this game, but if you made me pick a winner, I think I'm going to go with the Texas team in Chillicothe here.
All right. Wichita Falls Memorial makes the trip down to Andrews. Andrews still stinging after a big loss last week, and I'm afraid Andrews is going to feel another loss.
Yeah, I do too. I think Memorial will take care of business, stay undefeated. I don't think the road trip will bother them that much. I think they march into Mustang Bowl on Friday night, and because I just think they out-athlete Andrews. It's not that Andrews is a bad football team, because I still think they're the best team in 3-4A1, even though their record doesn't show it right now. But I still think they are the best team in that district. But I do think they take some lumps on Friday night.
Holiday steps up in rank again. They're taking on a Burke Burnett team. Holiday's rolling on all cylinders. How do you see this playing out?
Even though Burke's the bigger school, I mean, you got this is one of 10 matchups in the scoreboard print area where you have an undefeated like Holiday at 3-0 versus a winless Burke Burnett team at 0-3. Now, do I think Burke gets into the win column this week? No, I do not. I think Holiday has got enough going here that I think, even though going on the road, but again, this is a short road trip for Holiday, short road trip. 20, 25 minutes are there. And I do think Holiday takes care of business.
Graham goes to Decatur. The Steers are 3-0 on the year. Decatur still looking for the win column.
Well, I mean, Graham comes back, Stephen, after losing 2 weeks ago to Springtown. They come back nicely last week. Yeah, Decatur winless, even though they're the bigger school and at home. I still think Graham's a very good football team, and give me the Steers in this one.
You got Vernon taking on Prosper Richland, a team I know absolutely nothing about, but the Lions have been playing solid ball. Can they pick up a win there in Prosper?
Well, I think, it helps Prosper Richland. They're like Friendship Memorial in the Lubbock area, brand new school. They come in the mid-year, but unlike Friendship Memorial, Prosper Richland is playing pretty much an exclusively varsity type schedule. Now, so let me give you the games. Fort Worth Christian, one of the best private school teams in Texas, they're 3-0 right now. Gunner, do we need to say more in 3A Division II, the class? And Fort Worth All Saints, also 3-0. I mean, they won a state championship last year. So they're getting their lumps a little bit different, getting their experience a little bit different here, because you think in the next 3 games for them, here are their opponents: Vernon at home, at Brock, at Lubbock Christian. Those are the next 3 games for Prosper Richland. And then it kind of eases up a little bit. Friendship Memorial, undefeated. Now, remember, Vernon, Brock, Lubbock Christian, all undefeated right now. Friendship Memorial, undefeated right now, before they get New Braunfels, Long Creek, Liberty Hill Legacy Ranch, and Houston Legacy in their last 3 games to close the season. But, they've kind of taken a little different approach and playing primarily a varsity schedule, whereas Friendship Memorial playing, 3 varsity opponents, but then the other JVs, trying to get them a little bit of confidence, really, and to work it up. To me, I feel like that's better, but to each their own. But Prosper Richland, man, this schedule they've got put together, it is tough.
The Moguls of Monday go to Hamlin to take on the Pied Pipers. How do you see that playing?
Man, how about Monday? A team that for many years, since that state championship run over the last decade, man, there are years where they go winless or 1 win or 2 wins. But, man, the Moguls off to a great start here at 3-0. And I they go on the road. I think Hamlin is capable. But something tells me I just think Monday's gained confidence. And sometimes when you do that, especially after you've lost for a while and you start winning and you start learning how to win and you stack it like they're doing, give me the Moguls.
Vernon Northside travels to Rotan. Northside won this game by 30 last year, and the way they're playing this year, I feel like they've got the edge.
I do too. I think definitely Northside has they've done some things very nicely done for them coming into the season. So, man, after getting a nice win last week, man, I find it hard to believe that they don't go ahead and win again. I tell you, give me the Indians. I think they take care of business one more week here, and keep things rolling for them as they get ready for district play.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at a lot more matchups. You're listening to the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show with Stephen Orr and Mark Finkner. Welcome back. And Mark, now let's go to the big country, take a look around the Abilene area, starting with a very interesting game to me with Holly and De Leon. Holly in a bit, not really a rebuild, I wouldn't call that, but maybe took a little bit of a step back, and De Leon certainly a team that can give them a good game.
Well, I mean, both teams 2-1. Hawley with wins against Roscoe and Merkel last week, 51-31. Hawley's one loss to Albany, 21-7. I mean, respectable loss there for Hawley, no doubt. Now, when you start talking De Leon and Heston Job, their quarterback, and what they've been able to do, also 2-1. Their one loss to Stanford, but they beat Dublin big in the first one, and then last week at Valley Mills, going on the road, winning by 3 touchdowns. That's good. Now, boy, how about this for a tune-up for district play for De Leon? Hawley, and then next week at Munster. Oof, couple of toughies. So, I mean, for if you start looking, Stephen, at which team needs this game, to me, it's De Leon that really needs this game against Hawley because of who you've got next, and then the open week before district play starts in a district where no team is undefeated in 5-2A1. So to me, this is a huge test for De Leon. Hawley has kind of been that team in the big country and the smaller schools in 2A especially that's been so good the last decade. Not that you're dethroning them, so to speak, but I do think that this is one De Leon really needs, and I think they get it close. I think it's going to be a really – if this game were at Hawley, I'd probably lean Hawley, but because it's at De Leon, give me the Bearcats.
Abilene High makes the trip to Midland Legacy, coming off that tough loss last week. Last year, this was a shootout, 62-42 Legacy. Do you see that game being that high scoring again this year?
Not really, I don't think, but I could see the winner getting into the high 30s or low 40s because I think both teams have that kind of capability. But the problem is, to me, Permian, I look a lot at that Permian Abilene High game last week, 38-21 Permian. They were able to slow Abilene High's offense down some. To me, I still think Legacy might be the best team in 2-6A, even though they don't have a win, and who knows what may happen. I think 5 teams, well, really probably, maybe I need to retract that a little bit. But I do think Legacy is still the team, most people in the prognosticating thinking that was the best team in this district. Obviously, we'll start figuring it out in about 3 weeks from district play starts. But I like Legacy in this game to get into the win column, just like they did last year after 3 losses. I don't think it's just an absolute defense optional game, but I do think if Permian keeps Abilene to 21, I think Legacy could do something similar. And I don't know if Abilene slows Legacy down enough. I think Legacy wins this one somewhere to the tune of like 35-21.
The Brownwood Lions make the trip down to Waco to take on La Vega, and that's a tall order for the Lions.
Well, it is, considering La Vega's number 5 in the state in 4A Division 1. So, or excuse me, 4A Division 2. So, I think Brownwood, nice win last week, but I do think give me the Pirates in this one.
Jim Ned makes the trip to Jacksboro, and I've got a feeling that they kind of need this game.
Well, they do. There is no doubt. And I mean, Jacksboro definitely in a rebuild type mode this year. I mean, a lot of years, this is a game that could be in your top 7 some years. Not that way this year. Jack just really, injury, graduation, all that is played into it for the Tigers. I think Jim Ned goes in, and I think they win comfortably.
A matchup of winless teams. Eastland travels to take on Breckenridge. Eastland won this game last year 14-0, but I think the Buckaroos have shown a little more life in losses.
They have, and the last 2 weeks for sure. I do think this will be a close game. When you see 2-0-3s, and this is one of 9 matchups in the footprint where you have a winless versus a winless team, where somebody is going to get their first win of the year. You would think Eastland, but I'm with you. I'm kind of leaning Breckenridge here, although I think Eastland, this ought to be a close game, and Matt Landers is going to make it close with the way they play. We know what he's capable of with his years at Roosevelt, but I kind of like Breckenridge in this one. A 14-7, 14-10 type defensive game. I like the Buckaroos.
The Coleman Blue Cats are going to take on the Cisco Lobos in Cisco. The Lobos, a little bit of a shaky start, but they do seem to be building momentum.
Yes, but something, man, Coleman always seems to have some good athletes, and even though they're 1-2, Cisco is 2-1. Coleman going on the road, you would think, okay, Cisco would be the favorite, and probably are. But I do think this is a tight game, and man, I started to lean Coleman, but now the more I think about this one, but again, it's all in who you played. How does Coleman, Stephen, react to getting hammered by Mason last week, 50-9? To me, that's the big question, because sometimes after a game like that against, obviously Mason is one of the better teams, no question. They've been off to an 0-2 start. but boy, did they get themselves right last week. How does Coleman react to that after getting, on the wrong end of that score? To me, that's going to say a lot. Give me Cisco, but I do think this will be a tight game.
A couple of road favorites. You've got Anson traveling to Haskell and Stanford traveling to Roscoe.
And I think both of the road teams win. Stanford's played an outstanding schedule. They're 1-2 so far. I think they go to Roscoe this week and take care of business there. And Anson, we talk about them every week, and they have proven themselves worthy to be talked about. We hear from our man Cody Coyle at Big Country Blitz every week about the Tigers. Haskell improved at 2-1. They get them at home, but this is one I don't care where you play. Give me the Tigers.
The Monday Moguls come to Hamlin. Last year, Hamlin won this game 39-0, but we're looking at a different Monday Moguls team now.
We are a team that is much more confident, off to a 3-0 start. I like the Moguls here to keep it rolling. Now, I think Hamlin will do some things to keep it tight, but I could see this game somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 21-14 type game. But I do like Monday to stay undefeated.
All right. When we come back, we've got more great matchups for you. I'm Stephen Orr with Mark Finkner, and this is the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back, Mark. It's time to go to the Concho Valley, take a look at the top games there. We're going to start off with the Junction taking on Mason in Mason this year. Last year, Mason defeated Junction by a score of 35-12.
Junction's only loss the regular season was that one. In fact, they got all the way to the regional finals before losing to Shiner in the Region 4 final last year. And Mason, of course, was an 11-win team last year. I think Mason kind of figured some things out. Obviously for Mason, week 1 against Wall, one of the premier teams, you understand that. Then the tight game against Brady, it's a semi-rivalry game for Mason. And then, boy, what the Punchers did last week to go to Coleman, and I mean lay the wood, 50-9 last week, hang half 100 there. I like them at home against Junction. Could be a similar margin to last year, but again, it's no indictment on Junction. It's just, Mason trying to, you just see the improvement. 7 points week 1, tight game week 2, blowout win week 3. They're starting to get some things figured out, and then Mason has Cristobal next week before they get into district play, and 14-2A, 1. Mason is the prohibitive favorite like they always are. They've won 68 straight district games. But to go back to this matchup, to me, if Junction is going to find a way to win, they've got to keep the ball away from Mason. They've got to be able to have sustaining drives for points. They cannot give them the ball, because it looks to me like Mason's starting to figure things out offensively, especially. So they're improving on both sides of the ball week by week. But you look at Junction, I think a good football team, no question about it. They may have a chance to really do some things before the year is done. Maybe even get back to where they were a year ago in the regional finals. So we'll see what they have to offer. Their wins have been against Goldthwaite, San Saba, and Early. Now getting Mason this week before they have one more, and then they get into district play. But I don't know. These two teams know each other so well. Close rivals, but I do think that give me Mason, even though Junction's 3-0, Mason 1-2. You don't look at the records. You just look at the personnel, and I think Mason a little bit better here.
San Angelo Central hits the road. They travel down to take on Belton. San Angelo Central won this one last year 33-8, but Belton looking like a much improved team over where they were a year ago this time.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to the importance of last week's game and last week's win for San Angelo Central against Abilene Cooper. This is one they absolutely had to have, and they got it because They've got Belton this week, team that's 2-1. You're right, Steve. They're definitely an improved team from a year ago because, I mean, obviously Central, Coach Smith want to keep playing well and as they get ready for district play, because next week they go to Waco. So back-to-back trips to Central Texas, Waco High at 0-3. Boy, if they could go on the road and win at Belton this week, you'd like their chances against Waco High next week. They could be riding into district play on a 3-game winning streak. But for Central, their first 2 games of district play are Midland Legacy and at Odessa Permian. So, I mean, these two games are huge for Central. But being able to get that win last week, I mean, this will be a tough challenge for them. But if they can find a way to win, boy, you really like the way. I don't want to say that this week's a defining game in their season negatively, but I think it could be one in a positive way for Central.
The San Angelo Lakeview Chiefs welcome the Lubbock High Westerners looking to move to 4-0 in the year. They're going to have their hands full with a hot Westerner offense, though.
Well, right. I mean, putting up 40 in the first half last week, they won 48-21 comfortably. But for Lakeview, if they win, they'll be 4-0 for the first time in 42 years, since 1983. When they made, they were 9-1 in the regular season, lost to Estacado in the bi-district round of the playoffs, and that Matador team got all the way to the state championship game. So this is a big game for San Angelo Lakeview. And are they up to the challenge here? At home, I kind of like Lakeview. I think their quarterback has been good. Give me the Chieftains in a close game here over Lubbock High. But again, it would not surprise me if the Westerners win, but I think the Chieftains win close.
Colorado City comes to town to take on San Angelo Grape Creek. Colorado City won this game last year by 6, 34-28. They're still looking for their first win. Grape Creek looking to even the record.
And give me Grape Creek at home. I just think that this is a great spot for the Eagles to kind of get some things right. Give me Grape Creek to get to 2-2.
Ballinger goes to Brady to take on the Bulldogs of Brady, and this will be an interesting game. I think Brady probably has the advantage there, but they had a tough loss last week.
They did, but I'm like you. I think Ballinger off to they've won 2 in a row here, so they're definitely playing better. But I do like Brady at home in this one. The battle of 2-1 teams. I just think Brady a little bit better at this point than Ballinger.
Harper travels to Ozona to take on the Ozona Lions, and I'm going to say, unless they have an answer for Christian Villarreal, it leans towards the Lions.
1,000% that way. I mean, you look at the numbers that he himself put up. I mean, it's just video game like. I mean, Ozona 3-0, 65, 76, 46, 187 points in 3 games. And I mean, Ozona's thinking, okay, Harper's 2-1. A little bit better maybe than some years for the Longhorns, but I do think Ozona the better team here, and they're kind of licking their chops because they got Harper at Miles a little down at 1-2 than their open date, and then their first 2 district games for Ozona, Reagan County at home and at Sonora. If they get through those 2 at 2-0 in district play, Ozona definitely going to be the team to beat, and I'm not so sure that they're not already in that district. I like the Lions.
El Dorado and Miles face off in Miles. This one, both of these teams really could use this win to shore up that non-district schedule.
100%, and I do think that it's Miles at home that gets it done.
All right, when we come back, we take a look at more of our top matchups. I'm Stephen Orr with Mark Finkner, and this is the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back, Mark. It's time to head down to the Permian Basin and talk Permian Basin football, starting with Midland High and El Paso Montwood, both of these teams looking for their first win of the year. Last year, this was a shootout with Midland, or not a shootout. Midland hung 69 on Montwood, 69-13. I'm not sure Midland's going to be able to hang that many this year.
No, but I do think that they hang enough for Coach Thad Fortune to get his first win, even though it's on the road. Because when you look at, it's not even so much looking at Midland, although you look at them and they've played okay, not great by any means because they don't have a win yet, but they're okay. I look at Montwood; they're 0-3. Here are the scores in their 3 games. Now, granted, their 3 opponents are a combined 8-1. But they've lost 41-7, 57-32, and 59-29. That's 157 points they've allowed. That's 52 points a game that they're giving up. Even if they give up half of that, I don't know that their offense, they've scored 7-32. Well, maybe. I mean, maybe they could score in the high 20s against Midland. But I do think Midland goes on the road, and I like the Bulldogs to get their first win.
Odessa High comes to Lubbock to take on the Monterey Plainsmen. And last year in a shootout, Odessa beat Monterey 57-48. Odessa's offense has not shown that kind of pop this year so far.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. And that's why I think Monterey is going to be the pick here to win this game. I mean, you look at what Odessa's done. I mean, they put up 2 touchdowns in each of their first 3 games. 12, 13, and 12 is what they've scored in their 3 games. Now, granted, 2 of their opponents, now their combined 3 opponents they played so far are 8-1. Amarillo High's 3-0, Hearst LD Bell's 3-0, El Paso Eastwood, who they lost to last week, 2-1. So, but until they get some things going offensively, their defenses allow 55, 51, and 30. I think Jason Sims has enough weapons at his disposal, and I think Monterey, especially at home, will get to 2-2 on the year.
Abilene High comes to town to take on Midland Legacy, and Abilene High lost their first game last week to Permian. Legacy looking for their first win, but let's talk about who they played to be there at 0-3.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, 3 top 10 teams. I mean, Allen, Euless Trinity, Lake Travis. I mean, tell me a team in the state that's played 3 opponents that good. Okay, I'm still waiting. Now, the next one might be Valley in the 6-man rank, Strawn, Gordon, Jayton. Okay, I get that. But you look at these 3, I mean, nobody's played a tougher schedule in Texas than Midland Legacy. And I kind of look more, Stephen, to the Abilene game against Odessa Permian last week. Permian 38-21 winners. I still think Legacy might be the best team in 2-6A, although it's still, with so many losses among the 6 teams, it's really hard to say. But I do think if Legacy plays like they're capable of playing, and I think after their performance last week against Lake Travis, I think Clint Hartman has their full attention. Not that he didn't already, but after being kind of embarrassed on the road last week after showing really good signs in week 2 against Euless Trinity, I think their defense is good enough to keep Braden Henry and the Abilene offense in check enough. I think it's a very similar score to the Permian game last week. I think Legacy gets their first win of the year, something to the tune of like 35-21 type game.
The Crane Golden Cranes make the trip to Fort Stockton, take on the Panthers, stepping up a classification there. And I think Fort Stockton may just outman Crane.
Well, I think so. And remember how Fort Stockton did not look good in week 1, but Coach DJ Howell coming in there, and now all of a sudden, hey, again, over the course of the year, you're allowed to get better. As the season goes along, we see improvement. You're allowed to get better. And I think Fort Stockton is doing that. I think their 2-1 that they have now is a little bit better than Crane's 2-1. And especially at home, I think the Panthers go to 3-1.
The Wall Hawks travel to take on the Monahans Lobos. And normally this would be a game that we would see in our top matchups. This year, Monahans really struggling to find any rhythm.
They are. And, the Lobos, a proud program, but it's just not there for them right now. When you start looking at who they've played up to this point. I mean, you look at their schedule: Shallowater, Randall, Cooper, Liberty, a combined 8-1. Okay, they've played 3 really good football teams. There is no doubt. But to me, Stephen, I look at what they've done offensively: 6-0-7. You've got to be able to generate offense. But I just don't think it's happening this week against Wall. Their next 2 after this, at home with Andrews, longtime rival, at home, and then at Pecos before they get into district play. Maybe they can right the ship a little bit, but I don't think it's this week though.
Right. The Idalou Wildcats come to take on Odessa Compass Academy. Idalou 1-2, Odessa Compass 3-0. Now, Idalou won this in a rout last year, but Odessa Compass, an improving school every week.
They are, and you look at this team at 3-0. Okay, look at who they played. Again, I know we're talking about that a lot, but you need to start looking at how teams are getting to their records. Who are they playing? Is it good opponents or are they weaker opponents? Sterling City 0-3, Iran 2-1. Iran's a good football team that they beat in their closest game, 21-18 on the road. I think that's going to be one of the high marks of the year for Odessa Compass, because I think Iran is really good. And then beat Reagan County last week, and not just beat them down 41-8. Now, remember, this is the last game for this district, Stephen, because before they get into district play, because remember, just 4 teams, they are one of the few in Texas that play a round-robin district. So they've got Crane, Anthony, and Alpine, their 3 district opponents. So this is a very important game for Coach Bo Smith and OCA to get Idalou at home. This would be another feather in their hat if they get it. To me, I think this this is their toughest challenge against Idalou. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I have a hard time picking a winner here because I think it could go either way.
Wink takes on Forsan in Forsan. Wink, a big winner in this one last year, and I think probably just a little more talented than Forsan, but that's why we play the games.
Well, it is, and the Wildcats are ranked 7th in the state, and they're going to show why. I think Brian Gibson's team more than capable in this one, and I think after that loss to LC, it's kind of got them going. And give me the Wink Wildcats to go to 3-1.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at more of the best games in the area on the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. Welcome back, Mark. We've got one more segment left. We've got some great 6-man games, and we'll talk about the number 1 6-man team in the country or in the state playing.
They could be in the country for sure.
They could be. But this week they said, well, we're going to play 11-man. Gordon taking on Thorndale
driving
in 11-man football.
Yep, driving about 3 hours down. Now, I mean, obviously this is a rarity to see a 6-man team with enough young men to be able to play an 11-man game. But here's the thing, Stephen, they've already done it once. They scrimmaged the Wampus Cats of Itasca in their second scrimmage, and they won 3-0 in the timed portion of that scrimmage. And I went back earlier this week, and I found some clips from that game. And, man, I mean, obviously, we talk about it all the time. When you got 3 Division I athletes on your roster, that gives you the leg up big time. Now, Pigskin Prep has this game picked in favor of Thorndale by 19 points. Now, again, it's strictly analytical, different numbers, but I'm like, how can you quantify a 6-man team moving up to 11-man? I mean, you have the number 1 team at all of 6-man, and they're a 19-point underdog this week.
Well,
okay. I mean, it's weird for sure, but again, I'm not the degenerate that goes out there, but I'm not going to talk about covers and all that. I think if Gordon plays like they're capable, they can win this football game. I'm not saying they will, but to me, I mean, and tell me if you agree with this, that Gordon playing up they're basically playing with house money right here. If they win, that is incredible. That is awesome. They'll be talked about all over the state. If they lose, so what? They played up. They played against a good Thorndale team that's in that same district with Mason, 14-2A1. And, I mean, Thorndale's off to a 2-1 start. So I get it because, I mean, they needed games. I mean, that's why they're playing this game, because they needed games. They're going to do this later on against Bracketville. They're going to meet in Kerrville later on. So they're playing 2 11-man games this year. But I think this will be a very close game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game, and it will be interesting to see how Gordon handles the 11-man game, because here's one other thing to think about. Stephen, they're on this 33-game winning streak. In 32 of those games, they 45 their opponent. And in a lot of those, it's at the half. So they're only playing like 20 minutes of football, because remember, in 6-man, it's 10-minute quarters, not 12.
Right.
So when you look at this, that's the other factor that you have to play in. They're playing 48 minutes, not 20 like they are. You don't want to say what they're used to, but because they're so much better than everybody, they don't play much past halftime too often. So could conditioning be a factor? Possibly. Maybe a little bit later into the year, depending on what the weather's like on Friday night, it may or may not be a factor. But again, that's one of the many things that you have to keep in mind in this unusual matchup.
Want to bet that Gordon runs the spread?
Actually, you know what? In a couple of the clips I saw, I mean, they ran like 2 tights and, kind of, slot receiver come in motion, hand it off. Run some, not triple option, but I mean, they were doing some of that. So I think they're going to run several different things. I saw them in shotgun in some of those clips too. So it's going to be intriguing because I think in some ways Gordon has the advantage because Thorndale's played all 11-man games, whereas Gordon, all they've done is scrimmage. So from that perspective, I think Gordon has the advantage because they've seen Thorndale a whole lot more than Thorndale has seen Gordon.
Well, let's talk some other 6-man games that catch our attention. Whiteface at Klondike, 2 state-ranked teams. This ought to be a dandy.
You better believe it. This is the #1 game in the state of Texas as far as I'm concerned in the 6-man ranks, because when you talk with what Whiteface has done since coming back from their week 1 loss to May, man, they have come back with a vengeance, and they have been really, really good. They just, their last 2 games, obviously Happy and Follett combined 0-6. They won by a combined 115-14. But Klondike is definitely the best test for them on their entire schedule remaining. I mean, obviously May beat them in week 1 there at the Jayton Classic. But when you start looking at what Klondike brings to the table here, Coach DeGraffenreid has done an unbelievable job there at Klondike to really get things going. And when you look at what they've done so far this year, I mean, it is super, super impressive. I mean, they beat, granted, their opponents are a combined 1-8, but here's what they're doing. 52-6, 46-0, 56-0. They're beating bad teams and beating them badly. And this is probably Klondike's best test left on the schedule. So, I mean, this is kind of a marker for both teams, because I think the winner of this game, now granted, they're not going to play each other because they're in the different divisions, but I do think that this game holds a lot of benefit for the winner of this one the rest of the way.
Rankin brings a ton of momentum into Borden County this week. Rankin 3-0 on the year, Borden County at 2-1. Last year, this was a defensive battle, and Rankin won 16-8.
Yeah, I think we'll see a few more points. I mean, with what Rankin has done, I mean, what a win for them last week against Westbrook. To go and do what they did last week, so impressive for Rankin to do that last week. That's one of the better wins on the entire board so far through 3 weeks, in my opinion. They go to Westbrook. They win 48-44. They'd shut out their first two opponents. Rankin still has, they've got Borden County, they've got Water Valley in 2 weeks. They've got, so their schedule, Westbrook, Borden County, Water Valley, all within a 4-game span. Outstanding for Rankin. Can they go on the road and do it 2 weeks in a row? That's going to be the big test, no doubt.
And finally, May hosts Newcastle. You mentioned them earlier. They're having a pretty good season so far. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, I mean, you've got May at 2-1, Newcastle at 3-0. But man, May, boy, I don't have a real feel for this one. A lot of games you kind of get a feel for. This one is not one that I really have a feel for, because I could see this going a lot of different ways this week. Give me Newcastle this close against May, but it's sure not going to surprise me the Tigers win.
All right. When we come back, we'll have our final thoughts in week 4 of the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. All right, Mark, as we wrap up tonight, we've got some teams that are trying to stay undefeated, some teams trying to find that win column. Tell us about it.
Yes, sir. As we've got 10 matchups of teams that are undefeated against one another going at it this week. We've got 10 where you have an undefeated against a winless team. You would think most of the undefeateds would take care of business, and looking at that schedule, I would probably lean that way. And then you have 9 teams that are going to win their first game of the year, because we have 9 matchups of teams that have not won facing off against each other. So going to be fun to check the scoreboard come Friday night to see which ones are able to get off the schneid and which ones are able to stay undefeated.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's preview show. We'll see you on the Scoreboard show Friday night at 10. I'm Stephen Orr. This is West Texas Friday Night Preview.